Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and welcome to In Balance, a podcast where we explore how faith and health, both physical and mental, intertwine in our daily lives and how we can finally find balance as Muslims. I hope you're all doing amazing, inshallah. You might have noticed that there wasn't an episode last week. That wasn't planned. I thought I could manage the workload, but I overestimated myself and I apologize for that. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you know that I released a book that was kind of a secret project, a surprise to you guys, a way for me to make my 30th birthday kind of special, like a little accomplishment, and I'm so glad that it's finally out. It's called The Winds of Change, and this book is a compilation of some of the texts that I shared with you on the Mizan for the past 4 years. I felt like it was a nice way to wrap up my 20s, and yeah, I don't often say this, but I'm pretty proud of this. So, Alhamdulillah, it is now available on Amazon. You might check on your local Amazon page and let me know in case it's not. If it's not, I'm trying to figure out a way to make it available for the most of you, inshallah. But yes, I cannot thank you guys enough for all the amazing support you've been giving to all my projects, whether it be the Instagram page, the YouTube channel, this podcast, and now the book. It truly means the world to me, and I'm so grateful that I am able to be helpful in some ways, even if it's just making you smile, that's already such a huge thing. So, jazakumullah khair for letting me be part of your lives. And yeah, I just wanted to start this episode with that. Now, let's get into it. Today's conversation is one that I hope is pretty unique for all of you. This conversation is more so like a story time of a wonderful lady that is called Noor. And you're going to discover her in this episode. The first time I discovered her, I was so blown away because that girl climbed the Kilimanjaro. She's a hijabi, she's from the Middle East, and I love how she's breaking every stereotype that we might have, even as Muslims living in the West. So, this story and the conversation that I've had with Noor is going to inspire you in so many ways, not only in terms of physical performance, but also in terms of mental strength and spiritual lessons. So I truly hope you're going to enjoy it as much as I did, and let's get right into it. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I hope you're doing well, inshallah. Welcome to In Balance. Today, I have a guest that I am sure is going to blow your mind. You probably saw by the title of the episode already, but I have no doubt that this conversation is going to be one that you're going to remember. So, for a little bit of context, today's guest I discovered through a channel that I absolutely love. It's called Artisans de Demain. It's a French channel, but the content is in English. And they were doing an episode about women in Oman in Arabic. It's a country in the Middle East that is maybe not as known as the Emirates or Qatar, but is so special. And today's guest is going to show you how special it is. Please say salam to Noor Al Mandhari. Salam, dear Noor.
Alaikum assalam. First of all, thank you for having me at your episode today. I've been watching you for a while and I'm loving your work and I love what you do. And I'm very excited to have this conversation with you today. Tell you more about who I am, tell you more about my very beautiful, special country, Oman. And yes, I'm looking forward.
This is going to be amazing. I have so many questions to ask you because I told you I was so pleasantly surprised to see Arab women doing what you do. We were talking about this right before starting the recording, but there's so much stereotype about Muslim women in general, but even in our own community. And I am so glad that you're breaking all the stereotypes. So let's get into it. please tell us about who you are and your mission with all your different projects because you have quite a few.
Yes. So, actually, commenting on what you just stated, it's not. There are so many women in the Middle East who practice what they love, in terms of whether it's sports, adventure, even fashion. Maybe that's not very much spoken of or shown in the media.
Yeah.
And especially in the Western media, it just gives a different idea of who we are and what we do. So it's very quiet. If you come to the Middle East, and if anybody comes and visit the Middle East, they'll see it. It's just how we live. It's our natural life. It's nothing beyond, it's just normal. It's just that it sounds beyond and special only because it's not that much spoken of
Yeah.
in the media. So I just had to clarify and state that. So who I am? All right. So my name is Noor Al Mandhari. I'm from Oman. I live in the capital in Muscat. I was mainly raised in Oman, and yes, you even asked me how come I have good English. That's also a norm, FYI, in the in the Middle East. And
It's not the norm here in France, and we start learning English at a young age. Still, people in Paris do not know how to speak English.
Yes, I think for us as well, especially from people who lived and were raised in the capital, they speak good English because we also when we go to work, that's the first language even before Arabic because we work with a lot of people from all around the world. As I Yes, I was in a private school. This is probably why I have even better English, in general. And I also, after graduating from school, I went and did my bachelor's degree in Scotland for 5 years. I was sent by the country a scholarship to continue with my
Oh,
studies. Yes,
okay.
I got a very good grade at high school. So, alhamdulillah, I managed to get a scholarship to continue with my bachelor's degree in Scotland. So yes, I was based in Glasgow for 5 years. I loved it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yes. And then I returned home. Yes, and I did my bachelor's degree in mathematics, statistics, and finance. That sounds very smart, but yeah, it was quite difficult. So I came home and I got a job as a petroleum engineer. I work in the oil and gas industry. I'm a reservoir engineer by profession. I've been practicing it for 10 years now. I don't look much younger, but yes, that's the amount of work, of years
You
I've been
do.
working.
You do look very young.
Yes. Uh, so yeah, as I started my career, it was very refreshing because it was very fresh for me to become an engineer and not having that background. So when I joined the company, I had to learn things from scratch. It was like I was in like La La Land. Wow, there is a well being drilled. How is it being drilled? And getting into the site and seeing how things are being done. It was very, very fascinating. For me, I think with time I've discovered that I love to work in a non-routine job. And I like things to be always new and refreshing for me because if I do something on a routine on daily basis, I would die alive. I just can't do it.
Oh, how I relate to that. I'm
Yes,
the same.
indeed. So the job that I got as a reservoir engineer was very refreshing. It was very new. They were hiring at that point of time with people in bachelor's degree in science. I had that. Luckily during that period, they were hiring such degrees. So I was lucky to get that job. And I started to learn it from scratch. I joined a graduate scheme to learn it, and as I've been learning it for like 4 years of my career, that's when I got a bit more comfortable with the job, and I started to feel like, okay, where is my life going with this? Is this it? Because I feel that the excitement was not the same. I've learned it.
Mm.
It's no longer as exciting or as new. So that's when I felt like, okay, I don't think that I was created or born in this world by Allah. For me just to, wake up in the morning, go get my job done and come home and then go work out and that's it. I always felt a voice inside of me and it's been happening. I always had that voice in me as a child. But we were raised in the Middle East that, all right, you need to go to school, you need to get your grades, you need to really get grades for your scholarship if you want to study abroad or get into a good uni at the country. So that was the focus, that was the goal. And then once you get the job, خلاص, like,
Yeah.
then what's next? Oh yeah, marriage and kids. But yeah, that wasn't happening. So it wasn't something that I felt so strongly towards, um,
Mm.
and I was in a search mood, and I was not in a good place emotionally as well. And Instagram came into the picture during those years. I think it was in 2016. So I joined Instagram and I opened my account and I started following different accounts. I started to try to basically go around Oman as a country because there's a lot to do. So I started, doing some tourism in the country, doing some internal adventures here, and I was still not happy. I felt like, no, this is not giving me what I'm looking for. What is next? What is next? I don't want to keep doing what I'm doing as I live on a daily basis. There must be something. And a pop up came up on Instagram, and it kept on coming to me on daily basis. There was one of the traveling agencies and a tourism company that I was following, and there was a mountain in the photo, and it said Mount Kilimanjaro, and it says that this mountain will change your life. And I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I need. I need to change my life, and I need answers, and I need to know, and I hope that, and I always felt that nature will always give you some answer. Like if you just
Yes.
disconnect from work, from people, from
Yeah.
family, everything, and just get away, something will come to you, whatever it was. So I felt like, yes, I think I need to sign up for this mountain and just do it. I've been looking at it for almost a year. I think that was 2017. Until I'm like, that's it. I'm signing up. And I decided that in the beginning of 2018, I'm like, I have to go to this mountain. During that period of time, I was not training extremely, but I was still going to the gym, to keep myself fit. And then I remember reading a lot about the mountain, connecting with the people who were handling the company, and they're like, Noor, this will really change your life. Just come, just do it, train hard for it, get your gear. We will help you along the way until you actually arrived at Tanzania, arrived at Kilimanjaro, and we'll take you from there. So it was incredible. I remember the moment I just signed up to join the trip, that was for June, I think, was it June or July? June 2018. I remember the guy in charge said to me, Noor, your journey to Kilimanjaro, your journey in changing your life starts now, the
Wow.
moment you sign up. And it
But
was
did you like have you trekked or like
not,
used to go to mountains before?
no. It was my first.
Wow.
I used to go around in Oman. We have very difficult terrains and very challenging terrains
Yeah.
as a country. So I used to do some small adventures, not that small. I would say medium, because I used to go canoeing, in Oman,
Yeah.
and I used to go for like short hikes. But I never did an altitude mountain before or something that was that challenging before. Never. For me it was the purpose, because for me it wasn't about the mountain as much as it was about me
Yeah.
getting answers and hoping that this journey to the mountain will help me discover what I really want to do. So that was the purpose, was just here, and when I signed up, I got into training. I found a personal trainer. I trained with him for like, so I signed up in January. I trained from February all the way to May. And I remember Ramadan was happening during that period of time. It was in May. And during iftar, my personal trainer used to say, "I don't want you to eat much. I want you to have your dates and water and show up at the gym." So during that month, I did not eat iftar with my family, and it was like I just became someone else. Suddenly, I was focused only on my training and going to work, nothing else. So I wasn't much in my social life. I wasn't seeing a lot of my friends as much. I wasn't seeing my family as much because it was a goal. It's a target, and I was just working towards it for months. And everybody was like, "What's going on with this girl? Like, what's happening? This was not happening."
This
Like,
was so sudden as well. Like I'm trying to picture your family being like, "Oh, you never thought about this before?" Because one of my question was it something that you thought about when you were younger, like a
no,
goal that you and I imagine your family just being like, What is she talking about?"
yeah. So the good thing is that I didn't tell my family much about it because I didn't want to get into that discussion. I
Okay.
just wanted it to happen, because it's very new, it's very fresh. So I didn't tell my family about me going to this mountain or me climbing it.
Yeah.
The only person I told probably was my father, because my dad he's an adventurer by nature, and I have a lot from my dad as a personality, and I think my love for the outdoors comes from him. He raised us. So when I was a child, going back to my childhood, if that's where you think it could have come from. But as a child, my dad used to take us every weekend in the outdoors in Oman. There were hardly any roads. It was always off-roading. We used to camp. We used to enjoy the outdoors. And we have this thing called wadi. It's like a pool of water in the middle of the mountains. And it involves some canyoning as well. But with my dad, we used to go and hike down the wadis. We used to camp a lot on the sea. So as children, we have been raised in the outdoors,
Yeah.
but nothing extreme. No, and I never
Like
had a mountain.
like climbing the Kilimanjaro.
No, never had a mountain in my life, in my mind, ever, 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 never before. It just came to me on social media saying that it will change my life. And I at that point of time, I really wanted to change my life. I was not happy with the way my life was.
Mm,
It was just about work and seeing my friends and family, which I'm blessed to have, but that wasn't fulfilling for me. And
yeah.
I always felt like, no, there is something way bigger for me out there, and I just need to go and grab it. And at that point of time, that was screaming into me, and I'm like, I need to go get it. So I felt that Kilimanjaro could be a huge part of it, like doing something, getting out of your comfort zone, doing something extreme, um, being out of connection for a week
Yeah.
in nature, and being around strangers, getting to know
Yeah.
people around you for the first time in your life, and doing something like that together may create something new for you. So I created great friendships, lifetime
Yeah.
friendships. So getting into Kilimanjaro, yes, I've trained hard. I remember traveling to Dubai during Ramadan to actually go get the right gear. So I actually learned what kind of down jacket I should get, what kind of fleece, what kind of, windbreaker jackets and Gore-Tex hiking shoes and Gore-Tex jackets and all of these specifications, because apparently every mountain requires specific gear with specific temperatures. Yes, like even with the gloves, Kilimanjaro required a specific temperature for my gloves. Otherwise, I'll get cold. So I was lucky to go with a very professional company who actually guided me into getting the right gear for this particular mountain. And I remember buying that gear, and the guy was saying, the guy who was, his name is Samer. I don't know if he's going to listen to this, but he's a great guy who works for a company called Rahala. It's a local tourism company who are based in Dubai. It's owned by a Palestinian lady, and she's the
Oh.
first woman to summit Everest, a Palestinian woman.
Oh,
Yes.
mashallah. What? Oh,
Yes.
I love that you're sharing this with us.
Yes, and she's based in Dubai, and she started this traveling company called Rahala. I need to remember her name.
I
Oh,
will put all
shoot
the
me.
links in the episode description in case
Yes,
anyone wants to check.
yes, yes. So I went with this particular company. She had a person called Samir working with her, and he's the one who guided me throughout. So yes, I bought my specific gear, and he's like, by the way, the gear you bought, Noor, you can climb any mountain with it. And I'm like it will be your base, and if you need anything extra, then you can buy in the future if you're going to continue climbing. I'm like, yeah, let's see. Like it was not in my mind at that point of time. Fast forward, I went to Kilimanjaro. It was like a dream. Like, training and then arriving to the vacation where you want to go.
Yeah.
I remember I got a call few days before heading to Tanzania, and the company who were in charge told me that, Noor, there is a snowstorm happening in Kilimanjaro as we speak. People are not summiting. So please keep in mind, if you show up and if you go to the mountain, anything can happen. The weather might not be great. Please be ready. So they were trying to prepare us mentally for the unknown.
Yeah.
We arrived and the snowstorm was over and the weather was like, alhamdulillah, like thank God when we arrived, things got into place again, because it's always unpredictable with the mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I got there and I met the people that I was climbing with. They were from all from the Middle East and from India. We were a group of five. This
Oh,
the
that's not a lot.
Yeah.
I would have expected a bigger group.
No, it was perfect. I think it was like we had a couple from Saudi Arabia, we had a siblings from India who lives in Kuwait, and my room 10 partner and my 10 partner was from Emirates. Her name is Reem. She became a very good friend up to date. And we did this together with the company. We climbed for I think 5 days or 6 days, and then the seventh day you come down. Yeah, and now
So you only come down. It takes 1 day to go down.
yes. So basically,
Okay.
the trick with the mountains is that when you climb, you need to climb to acclimatize your body with the altitude.
Yeah.
So we did that over 5 days. So there were days where we went up, and then there were days when we went down slightly and sleep at a lower altitude to acclimatize your body for that. And then you go back up again, and then you go down, and then you go back up again, and then you get into base camp, and then from base camp you head directly to
Wow.
the summit.
That's incredible. I remember watching a video on YouTube of a famous French content creator, and she did the climbing of the Kilimanjaro, and she documented everything. So I put those images
That's
on your
amazing.
story, and I picture you doing that, and I'm thinking, you are so brave. And the one question I wanted to ask you is, when they told you before climbing, like when they call you and they told you about the weather not being, probably not going to be great, what did you think? Like, did you consider giving up and not going, or were you like, I'm going anywhere? Anyway.
I'm going
Yeah.
anyway. I'm going anyway. Whatever happens,
Yeah.
happens. I've been training for this. I was scared. I'll be honest with you. I had a bit of fear towards not, fulfilling what I wanted to
Yeah.
fulfill. But as they say, and I've learned this over time, is that the summit is the cherry on the top. It's not the journey. The journey begins. That's why the guy said, "Noor, your journey starts now. The moment you sign up, that's the journey." My life changed from the day I signed up. It's true because I started training every
Yeah.
day. I my life flipped completely upside down. My focus became something completely different. I suddenly started training hardly on daily basis. I bought gear I never bought before. I
Yeah.
went to a country I've never been to before. I met people I've never traveled with before. That was all new and refreshing.
Talk about
Um,
getting out of your comfort zone.
yes. So that was already happening, and the mountain, this particular mountain for me is very special. It's very spiritual. The people are
Yeah.
very spiritual. It has
Mm.
a very positive vibes because all they do, regardless of their life and their difficulty in their lives, they have this amazing spirit. They always lift you up, they always sing, they take care of you. It's not like any other mountain where it's even, I think with Kilimanjaro, because of the environment and the people, it makes it much easier.
Yeah.
And you go through different terrains in a week, which is insane. You go through the forest, and then you go through
Wow.
valleys, and then you go through, through glaciers. So going through that in one mountain, and it's a volcanic mountain, going through all of those terrains in 5 days is just incredible.
This is
And
giving me chills. I
yes.
can't even. I've never been to the mountains actually, and I always when I see images, I always feel very impressed because I can only imagine all the nature that you see that you're not used to.
Yes.
And it's not like when you go skiing, you know, it's like when you're doing this, it's completely different. And I'm just thinking about the silence, or like the very different noises that you hear. It must be so surreal.
It was. I remember seeing mountain monkeys on in the initial days, and seeing the greenery, and then suddenly the trees get shorter as you go up, and there are different kinds of
Allah.
trees who can survive at that altitude, and there is not there is no life other than those trees, and then it becomes more
Yeah.
altitude, and there's no more no there's nothing as you go with higher altitude. It's just valleys, and then because it's higher altitude and the temperatures are lower, it's glaciers. So
Yeah.
seeing all of that in Man Mountain, it was like astonishing, and this is what makes it very very special as a mountain. You won't see this in any other mountain around the world. It's just Kilimanjaro with all these terrains in one single mountain. And throughout my journey, of course, going back into um, how this impacted my life, the beauty of it, yeah, that's great. Everything is great, but how it's really impacted my life is how I climbed it. Because they keep on saying pole pole.
Yeah. I remember that from the video I watched.
I'm sure you heard it.
Yeah.
And it means that you have to go slow. So the first lesson you learn out of any mountain you do is that the slower you go, well, a certain slow, I would say, the better, the better chance you have to reach the summit. So because as you go up, the oxygen goes lower. You're adapting your body into that altitude, so it becomes more challenging for you to go. The moment you go
Yeah.
faster, that's the moment you lose yourself, and khalas, like your body is failing. So we had to go. They keep on saying pole pole, and they kept on singing, and we took it step by step. And as the day passed, I remember there was one day, the fourth day was very challenging. It was the longest day. They said this would be one of the longest days other than the summit day. And I remember that at some point I'm like, when are we gonna get to the camp? Like, I'm done. And the guide came up to me and he's like, Noor, and I'm like, if I'm tired now, how will I get to the summit? It's only the fourth day, or the third day. And he's like, Noor, if you're already focused on the summit day and you're not here now and you're
Yeah.
thinking about when you're gonna get there, that's when you will lose. You will lose the joy of the day. You will struggle mentally and you will get tired mentally, and that might impact you reaching the summit even further. So he gave me a very good lesson on that day. That this particular lesson has changed my life since then. And he said, focus on the
Yeah.
day. Focus. I know we keep hearing it, but it's different when you actually experience it. you know it's like he's like, just focus on the day, focus on your today's goal. Today is your summit day, getting to the camp is your summit day, and that's how you're going to enjoy it. And I remember applying
Yeah.
that on daily basis. I completely forgot about the summit completely after this advice, and I focused on the days as they came, to a point where when the summit day came up,
This is
I
incredible.
didn't believe it. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, we just got here, like, he's like, yeah, we're heading to the summit tonight. I'm like, tonight? How? Like, when did this happen? And then that's when it hit me, like, oh my God, it's happening today, it's happening tonight. Because you usually get to the summit at night, late at night. So you get to the camp probably during the afternoon on the day, and then you have lunch, and then you sleep, and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you head to the summit. It's safer to head to the summit in the evenings, because that's when, if it's, especially if it's icy or it's snowy, um it's safer because the ice is it's pretty much frozen, so it's safer for you to climb during that time. This is why they avoid doing it during daytime, because the sun might melt the ice, or it becomes unsafe for you to do so. Kilimanjaro is not as icy as the other mountains, but during our period of time it was, because they had the snowstorm, so we had to do it. Anyway, it's always in the evenings. So yeah, I remember getting to the camp and then heading that night to the summit. And I remember I had my headphones on and I had some motivational podcasts on because I didn't want to listen to anybody. It was the moon was the moonlight was it was a full moon. The moonlight was enough for me to look into where I was going. I had my headphones on and we kept on climbing and climbing and you just keep on losing the track of time as you go up and everything just becomes nothing is there. It's just it's just all you feel is you, your steps, and what's around you at that point of time. Nothing else. Nothing else. I feel like, and I remember doing going up until suddenly I see the sunrise in front of me. It was unbelievable. And I was like, all right, are we there yet? He's like, we're not that far, you know? And you just keep on having your head down, and all you focus on is your steps and whatever is around you in terms of nature. And that was the sunrise for me. And you just lose time, you lose track of everything. And that's the most amazing feeling you would get when you climb a mountain. That's the feeling I crave because as humans all we think 24/7, our minds are always working, but when you're when you're where you're climbing, your mind just stops and what matters is your steps and that's it. And it just feels very peaceful for me. It was the most peaceful time I've ever felt in my life in this mountain. I even felt more connected to God because I felt closer to Him with the moon, with the full moon, with me being above the clouds, with the sound of nothing but nature and whispers of people around you, and it was just the best time, honestly.
You touched upon how obviously when you're doing something like this, you are going to sometimes feel, physically and mentally tired because it's a lot.
Correct.
Like it's such a huge accomplishment. And I was thinking, I was like, it it must be such a humbling experience as
It
well. You
was
must feel so small during
very
the
small.
whole process. And like, I'm thinking this, you feel so small compared to the mountain, the immensity of the sky and everything that you see. And it must feel even more humbling to think that Allah is watching you doing this.
Yes.
And when you were saying it, I was thinking, it made me think also of the prophets, how they walked
Yes.
huge distances, and we don't do that anymore with transportation, cars. But when you do something like this, it's very similar.
Precisely. Like as the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, he used to go to the Maghara and
Yeah,
he used to go to the cave and disconnect from the people
yeah.
to get his connection back to himself and God. And that's exactly what the mountain offers for you. And that's how I felt. I felt closer to Allah. I felt closer to my inner self, my inner peace. I felt very peaceful.
This is incredible.
Even when I was tired, um, I focused on my steps and I focused on my surroundings. And the guides that I had with me were incredible. They were supportive, they were understanding, and I'm so grateful for this mountain. And I remember when I came back, they're like, "That's not a challenge." I'm like, "What do you mean?" They're like, "You felt good." I'm like, "Yeah, it's true." I had my, but because when you see the mountains, you feel like shit
Yeah,
many times because, and that's normal. That's part
yeah.
of it. Sorry. I apologize with my
It's
words, but
okay. We get the idea.
yes, and honestly, you get that feeling, and I felt that in many mountains,
Yeah,
but this particular mountain is different because of the environment, and the
yeah,
environment plays a big role of you feeling good towards the climb. Also, it's not technical. Kilimanjaro is a non-technical
yeah.
mountain, so that makes it even, less challenging from that aspect.
Mm,
But the challenge in this mountain is the altitude gain.
yeah.
Imagine you leaving the sea level and getting at 5,890 5 meters above sea level. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's a challenging part, and that's not easy.
That's amazing. So, did you also do the Everest base camp? I'm curious to know what happens after. So, you
Yes,
experience this
yes.
Kilimanjaro climbing experience, and it's like it changes your life. You feel like a new person, like you find a sense of self. What happens next? Do you tell yourself, I want to keep climbing some of the highest summits in the world? Like, what happens?
Yes, so I got the mountain bug. We keep on saying that. I literally got the mountain bug after coming back. I remember that during that time at work, I wasn't happy. So I wasn't progressing with my progression before the mountain. And I remember that I had a progression panel happening right after the mountain. And I remember speaking to a friend. I'm like, how can I go and come back? And maybe I won't have the time to prepare for it. She came back. She's like, no, Noor, you'll come back more ready to prepare for it. Just go to the mountains, come back, and you'll feel like you'll give even more towards, progressing in your job.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what happened. When I came back, I came with a very good high spirit. I felt amazing. And I worked so hard in my and towards the progression, which I did not succeed before the mountain, and I succeeded amazingly right after. So even it impacted my work life. It impacted the way I felt about my job. It impacted the way I was around my people and my family. I remember my sister-in-law. Well, whenever we speak about it, she's like, Noor, the Noor I knew before going to the mountains, the Noor I knew afterwards is a different Noor. I became more peaceful. I became more settled. I became with myself. I became more focused. Even my friendships have changed over that time. I created new friendships who appreciated what I do and encouraged what I do. So that has changed as well. And the major as well, these are all major stuff, and because that changed my day-to-day life. And what also happened with me is that I became that I had a new target. I wanted to continue climbing. I wanted to do the seven summits, the highest mountain in every continent. That includes Everest. That includes Aconcagua, Elbrus, all these seven summits that I really wanted to continue climbing. So I remember that, okay, now that I've done Kilimanjaro 2018 summer, I immediately signed up for Everest Base Camp for 2019 in March. It was combined with a peak in Nepal, and that gives you more of an exposure towards the 6,000 mountain, 6,000
Hmm.
meters mountain. It's called the Island Peak. So I wanted to get expose my body into higher altitude for me to prepare towards higher and higher altitude.
Yeah.
So yes, I signed up for Everest Base Camp Island Peak in 2019 March. I went with a group of that was a bigger group. That was like a group of 10, I think. It was incredible. We did that for 2 weeks. We went to the and then after doing Everest Base Camp, we were supposed to continue towards a peak called Island Peak, but we had a snowstorm happening at that point of time, so we did not continue. How did I feel? That's when you feel like shit again. Like, oh my God, I wanted to do this mountain. Like, why is the weather? So, so that's the thing with Nepal. Nepal is one of the countries that has the most challenging mountain. Of course, it has Everest, the highest mountain in the world. The weather in Nepal is very unpredictable. Today you have good weather, tomorrow you have the most horrible weather. So that the challenge that you feel towards the mountain builds you up to be more resilient in
Yeah.
your daily life. So you get upset because you want things to happen your way, but the mountain will give you something the complete opposite. It will give you the complete feeling. It's like today you'll have a
Again,
good
very
day.
humbling.
Yeah, it's very humbling.
Yeah.
It's one of the most humbling experiences you can ever have in your life. Today you have a good day, tomorrow you have a bad day, tomorrow the day
Mm.
after you want to give up, but then you remember why you're here, and then you wake up in the morning wondering why are you doing this to yourself? Like it's cold, you cannot go to the toilet like a human being. You need
Yeah.
to do it in a bag in the middle of nowhere. You don't have access to water You don't shower.
Wow.
It's extremely cold. You get cleaned up very briefly during those days, and you be that person for like weeks. So it's very humbling because you appreciate you yourself being in a warmer weather on a
Yeah.
sofa, access to your shower, driving around, breathing becomes
Yeah.
challenging.
Yeah.
Moving just to grab a bottle of, like, grab something in your tent at altitude becomes challenging because your movement becomes much slower because you have less oxygen. So these are the things that I've experienced, and I even experienced altitude sickness. This is something that's very possible for you to experience in the mountains. Altitude sickness can happen to anyone. I had my oxygen level dropping like crazy, and it was dangerous towards my life. And there were mountains where I had to take the heli and head down. I experienced that. So after so I succeeded to get to Everest Base Camp, alhamdulillah. Uh,
How high is the Everest base camp?
5,300 and something meters above
Wow.
sea level. So it is less altitude than Kilimanjaro, but it's more
Yeah.
time to get there. You
Yeah.
see? It
Yeah.
takes you 2 weeks to get there.
Subhanallah.
Yeah, but you go through villages, you go through different terrains, you go through massive bridges, and you have the water flowing around right underneath the bridge. It's just you see people, you actually interact with humans, people living in these villages. You
Wow.
experience a cafe at 4,000 meters above sea level,
This
and you
is
have that amazing
crazy.
hot chocolate, so it's a different experience
Yeah.
than Kilimanjaro. Very different.
Yeah, how so the top of Everest is at 80
It's at
8,000.
8,000 and yes, above 8,000, 8,800 and something.
Okay, and what
Yes.
I don't know anything about climbing, so I'm gonna ask you, but what was the reason that why people don't, or your group didn't go to the top and just stopped at the Everest base camp? Like, is it even possible to go there?
Yes. So honestly, there is a specific trip for Everest by itself,
Okay.
and there's something called Everest Base Camp Trek. It's a
Yeah.
trek for you to get to the base camp. That's a trip, and I combined it with one of the peaks, which was Island
Yeah.
Peak. It wasn't an Everest targeted trip.
Okay.
So Everest is a different trip that you can sign up for, and it takes you 2 months to get to the summit.
Wow.
It requires even more training. It requires, of course, triple the money, and it also requires a lot of physical ability for you to be able to do that. So it's a different,
Obviously.
yeah, it's a different trip. So for me, the reason why I went to Everest Base Camp is I wanted to sense and see what this is all about. I also wanted to experience an altitude a bit higher than what I have experienced in Kilimanjaro, and it was a technical mountain, so I wanted to experience, using the ice axe, using the crampons, getting familiar with the kind of gear that I will be using in the future for
Yeah.
Everest. So I'm that kind of a person. I like to get familiar
Yeah.
with what
Makes
I'm
sense.
gonna face roughly before I get into the bigger stuff.
Yeah. And that's very big. We're talking about the highest mountain in the world.
Mountain the world, yes. So yeah, so that was me just going to experience the place, the country, the gear, the techniques. So for you to actually climb Kilimanjaro, climb Everest, you need to earn experience. You need to
Yeah.
learn about the things you're gonna do, the kind of terrain, the kind of gear you're gonna be using. So that was the reason why I went for that. I'm like, I want to do this. I want to learn more, and I want to do more of altitude mountains to enable me to become stronger and ready for Everest. So this is the journey that I'm taking at the moment.
This is I
Yeah.
don't have any words in my mind. I'm like, I am fangirling, honestly. I I always tell my sister I wish my physical condition was a little bit better because I have asthma and I have endometriosis, which makes it hard, to do like big physical efforts. But I always tell myself, Ya Rabbi, inshallah, maybe one day I will be able to run a marathon or climb Kilimanjaro. Because when I hear those stories, it's not even so much for the accomplishment of getting there, but as you said, the
No.
story and everything that you must learn about yourself, about your spirituality
Yes.
is just mind blowing. I am, again,
Yes.
fangirling. I cannot.
And you might surprise your body of you being able to do that with everything that you mentioned.
You think so?
What yes, what you would, I think, well, you need to go to your doctor and check
Yeah.
the medical part, but I'm not talking about the medical
Yeah.
part here.
Yeah.
I'm talking about as humans, you
Yeah.
would be surprised of the amount of strength you have within you
Yeah.
as a human being in these kind of climates.
Mm.
It's insane. Like and I remember that after that I continued with climbing. I went to another summit. It's called Elbrus. It's the highest point in Europe. I did that in the summer of 2019, again, during the same year. And of course, while going to these mountains, I mean, you continue to train. I continue to sign up for marathons,
Yeah.
ultra runs to prepare me. The more you sign up for challenges, and the more you climb within where you are, the more you prepare your mind, because as you climb, you discover that it's a mind game. This is why I
Yeah.
said you'll be surprised
Yeah.
of what your body can do, because it's not your body the body. Yes, it takes a huge part of you doing it, because you're preparing it physically and you need to be strong
Yeah.
physically to be able to do it. But your mind is what takes you up there, because if your body fails at some point, where your mind will pick it up and wake it up again and take it up there.
Yeah.
So that's my message. Like you mentioned that, yes, I have all of these kind of challenges medically, but
Yeah.
imagine that if you give something a try, you thought you could have never done it, but you
Yeah.
actually go and do it maybe in a smaller scale initially and see how
Yeah.
your body
That
feels,
is so true.
and then you'll discover that, oh my god, if I can do this, I can go next to the next level,
Yeah.
I mean, and that's how things work, with even with
Yeah.
any sport or anything you want to do in life.
When you place your trust in Allah and have tawakkul, you can do what you thought was impossible as well.
There is a saying that and I'm sure you know it, maybe not everybody might understand it, but you can translate that, whoever is going to listen to this. يعني Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always says to us, اسعى يا عبد. اسعى يا عبد وأنا أسعى معاك. It means he's telling us, as a human, go towards what you want, and I will be there to help you get where you want to be. It's a fact. We've experienced it, and I have been going towards what I want to do, and what I want in my life, and God has been enabling me to continue doing it, towards my mountains. And sometimes things does not happen as you expect. Sometimes
Mm.
things does not happen at that point of time, but there is always a reason why it wouldn't happen. So you just have to trust yourself, have faith, and just continue with that. And then, yeah, and then COVID happened, and that's the unexpected thing that no one
Yeah.
expected. So no more travels, no more
Yeah.
mountaineering, no more, you know things are paused.
How did you live that period of time, like not knowing when you would be able to climb again?
So that's the interesting part. And that's where my life changed again. So after doing these mountains, I obviously had more mountains that I wanted to continue doing in 2020, 2021, and onwards. But when 2020 happened, when COVID happened, it happened right after me doing my first half marathon. I remember I did my half marathon that year in February, and then COVID happened in March. I was stuck at home, obviously, like everybody else around the world.
Yeah.
And people started to go online, and we all went online. And then I remember that I had a couple of friends, and colleagues from work who were approaching me, to speak online about my journey, or newspapers featuring my story. And at the same time, I was watching people online featuring each other with different subjects. And that's when I was like, okay. I remember when I was featured in one of the newspapers locally, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I could have. I mean, I've been featured a couple of times locally and internationally as well. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this needs. I mean, we have other women. Why don't they speak to other women too? You know, we have so many other women who are doing what I'm doing, and even more, and they should be spoken to as well. But because
You're very
I
humble.
so
You're very humble.
I mean, it's not just.
But you're right.
I mean,
You're
it's
right.
not about humbling, but it's about, yes, I would love to be recognized. Everybody loves that. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful feeling to be recognized for what you do because it gives you encouragement to continue, and it gives you purpose, even further purpose, not just for yourself but for your community. So yes, being recognized as an individual is very important, and for me it felt amazing. But it was the same people all over again.
Hmm.
So no, there are other women who have achieved, but they're just not online, or maybe they're
Yeah.
not well known as I am.
Yeah. And they
So
deserve to shine as well.
exactly. So I remember when I was featured in one of the newspapers, I'm like, oh no, I need to start something. I need to do something regarding this, and I'm like, why don't I do it in my platform where I can, have interviews with my friends online? Because everybody was doing a live interview.
Yeah.
The live thing became a thing in COVID, and it became our thing of going live and having interviews with people.
Yeah.
So it came with a very simple idea of saying women featuring Omani women online on my Instagram account. And I remember when I announced that, my first interview was with a very close friend, and she's a cyclist. She crossed Oman with cycling from north to south with her husband, and she's just incredible as a human being. And I wanted to feature her and speak about her. So when it went online and I had that interview, it went viral. Everybody loved it, and they're like, "Why don't you start something specific to this?" You know, I'm like, "Yeah, why not?" So that's when the idea of Hunna. It's a feminine word in Arabic. It means them for
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
It's called Hunna, and that's how it came up. I decided to start a specific Instagram page for this.
Mm.
I had a photo shoot that was happening at that same time where my friend wanted to take photos of me with traditional clothing but climbing and hiking gear.
So
Um,
fun.
and I didn't have a name at that point, so I connected to one of the girls that I knew 10 years ago from uni, where she was featuring women in tourism. And I'm like, listen, I have this idea that I want to do. She encouraged it. Her name is Wusala Rashdi. She's now my partner in what I do. So, so she's like, that's amazing. Just do it. I'm like, yeah, but I have photos. I don't have a name. And she's like, let's get online. And that's when, and she's the one who basically helped me with the name. She's like, how about you call it? She gave me a couple of names, and then she said, Hunna. I'm like, yeah, that's it. It took me a day to decide on it, but it connected. It resembled with me
Yeah.
to go ahead with this name. And I had a friend who was an expert in branding and social media and in creating identity, and he created a nice logo for me. So I had the name and the logo and the photos and the Instagram account open. That's how simple it can be, right?
Yeah.
And the moment the photos were online, I got 2,000 followers in 2 days
Wow.
from the photos because it was that powerful.
Yeah.
It was a woman. I didn't show my face because the idea of Hunna as an identity is not me as
Yeah.
Noor. I already
Yeah.
have my
Yeah.
identity in my platform in my own account. It was about representing every Omani woman in the country.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about women today. I'm talking about women from years ago, hundreds of years ago until today, because
Yeah.
the nature of our women, they used to live, they live in the wild, they live in the mountains, they live in the valleys, and they walk and hike as a daily thing in their lives to get a living out of it, whether it's
Yeah.
going to get water or get some
Yeah. It's part of their
food.
routines.
It's part of their routine. So the clothing represented them
Wow.
and represented the women today, and it's represented all kinds of the women from that point of time until today, and the hiking gear represented our generation. So it really hit many women and it did went all the way to the governance and the villages,
Yeah.
and they're like, yeah, we've seen this photo, like it went viral. So I didn't expect that much of attention at that
Mm.
point. I did not expect this to go that big in a couple of days. So I called up with Sal, who helped me up with the name. I'm like, listen, I need a partner. I cannot do this alone. I need somebody with me. Are you in? And she was already doing something similar with the tourism sector. And she was like, give me a day. And I'm like, yeah, okay, just take your time, but not too much because I need to get into work, you know? So she joined me and she became my partner in Hunna. And we've been working together as partners since then. And this was something that I did not plan for. If you ask me about my childhood again, I'm like, I never thought I would climb a mountain. I never thought I would start a community
Yeah,
nonprofit organization that
yeah,
features women in sports and adventures in Oman called Hunna. I never thought that I would reconnect with a person I knew 10 years ago at uni
yeah,
to be my partner. Um, Everything happened in my life, and from the since I climbed Kili up to date was never. I think the inner part of me had it,
yeah,
maybe towards nature and towards mountains in general, coming from Oman, but it was never really there as a plan or as a target,
yeah,
because we were raised to have a target, which is getting your university certificate and getting a job and getting married and having kids.
yeah,
Nothing else.
yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah.
When you were sharing this, I thought about two things. Um, and it you kind of it's like it's kind of linked to what you just said. I'm wondering because we have this what you just described of going to university, getting married, etc. is not just in Oman. It's in a lot
Ev-
of different countries,
Indeed.
especially Muslim countries. So the first question that I had was how like did you have, especially when you started like posting online and everything about your journey and then about Huna, did you have to deal with people coming up with stigmas around being a Muslim woman, achieving all those things? And then the second question that I have is that how did you manage to prioritize your your sports life, your social business, your relationship with Allah as well? I feel like a lot of people in general, we know how to be able to manage all of this, you need discipline and you need resilience, which you touched upon, and that's a lesson that the mountain gave you. But how do you do it in your daily life? I'm very curious to know.
So I think that before Hunna, I would say maybe because I had my full-time job and training, that was it. But during COVID, luckily we were working from
Yeah.
home. That played a role
Mm,
because I was at home. I was working during the hours I needed to work. I was able to be online. I was able to do things online. I was able to work from anywhere across the country.
yeah.
I didn't have to be at the office at certain hours. I could be under a tree in the middle of the forest doing my job.
Yeah.
And that actually happened, So I was in the sea camping, waking up next morning and getting my job done, like the beauty of working from anywhere was played a big role on me being available towards my projects. Um Things are going back to norm now. It's no longer the same. But today I would say now, no, but now I need to be present in the office 3 times a week. I still have 2 days where I don't have to be present. Um, yes, I have my specific hours. I need to train. So I think after before COVID, I used to train after work, but after starting Hunna, I had to flip my schedule and work and do my workouts early morning
Yeah.
so I can go to work afterwards and then do my business or whatever I need to do with my social work after work. So I had to change the schedule of my life, you know? And So you have to amend things around. It's just
Yeah.
about amending things around to get what you really want to do.
Yeah,
Um,
because also I remember there was this video that from a girl that I really like online. One day she was like one question she got was how do you manage all your projects and how do you do it? How do you have so much time? And she said, I choose what I decide, what I prioritize.
Exactly.
So for example, for me, my job and my projects and feeling good about my body and everything are my priority. So
Yeah.
this is what I give most time to. But my
Yeah.
social life is not as important. So my friends, if they're good friends, they understand that. That doesn't mean
Exactly.
we don't have a good relationship, but
Thank
that's
you.
just how I structure my day. And one thing that I always say as a productivity tip to my community is that if there's one resource that we are all equal to, it's time. Allah gave us all the same amount of time. We don't have the same amount of money, we don't all have the same health, but time, we all have the same. So it all depends on how you decide to use it.
Correct. You just explained it. Like you just said it.
Yeah,
Like it's about you prioritizing what you want to do on that specific day at that specific hour. And honestly, because of also me learning how I need to take things step by step in the mountains, and I implemented
yeah,
that in my life. Things that do not have to happen right now, or
yeah.
it can wait. and I,
Nothing is
and
and the world is not going to end
no,
if you don't do it that next day.
I mean, I can do it whenever I want and whenever I
Yeah,
can. It's about when I
yeah,
can. Sometimes my priorities would change on that day, and I have to
yeah,
make it up another day. But honestly,
yeah,
I've learned that take your time.
yeah.
It's our personal project. No one is running behind me. No one is asking me to do something for the sake of a salary. It's something that we're doing out of passion. And I remember me and Wasal saying that moment that the days or the moments that we feel that we're stressed and it's causing us stress and not joy and passion, then that's when we need to really pause
Definitely. That is something that I relate to.
to make sure that we're enjoying it. Yes, because we're doing this out of
Yeah,
passion and love, nothing else. We're not doing it for money. We're not doing it for anything else. We're doing it for our own. We're doing it not for us only, we're doing it for us and for our community. We have a purpose, and our purpose for Hunna is to feature women in sports and adventure, cover their stories, for the world to know who they are, and in people and the women who don't want to be filmed or known, that's fine. We
mhm,
still connect with them. We featured so many women on a personal level. Well, we got to know them on a personal level, and we gave them so much moral support and encouraged what they do for them to keep doing what they're doing. At the end of the day, we come from a community that's very diverse. We come from a community where some women are encouraged with their sport and adventure, and a lot of them are not in their households. It's out of the odds, it's out of the nature of their living, especially outside the capital. So they struggle mentally to continue. They struggle mentally to practice what they love and what they're passionate about. So that's when our role comes in as Hunna. If we show up and if we encourage and we give them, the positivity of what they're doing, that's when we really play a role as Hunna. So it's not just about being online and talking about them, but it's about you know, getting to know them as well. So I remember the moment we started Hunna, we were lucky to cover a number of women who were already within their adventures. So we lived those adventures and those experiences with them, talking about Suhaila and Isa, who crossed Oman from north to south. The football tournament that happened for the full year, where we covered the women and we got to know them and attended their games. And we went to different governance to know them, um and our name got big towards this community because they're like, where are the Hunda girls? They're not here today. You didn't come to see us, you didn't come to visit, where have you been? And they loved the sense of community and the sense of encouragement towards them, and that's very important from where I come from you know uh and it's important. It's very important. It made me
yeah,
realize of the importance of what we do. Yes, we do have, and another thing that we also do is something that I always wanted to do. As I mentioned, I want to interview girls, right? So we started a
yeah.
YouTube channel where we interview those women, personal interviews with different individuals who have highly achieved in the world of sports and adventures in Oman. And now we're moving more towards the Arab world and the Gulf, and not just Omanis.
This is
So,
amazing. This is
yeah,
great.
so with Hunna, I mean, the purpose of it, as I mentioned, is different things, but it all comes to creating that sense of community. bringing those women together, having that encouragement, having that positivity towards what they do, featuring them online. Hopefully, these episodes to go internationally for the world to know that we exist. And we practice what we love, and we've achieved so much in what we do, you know?
It's honestly such a beautiful mission. I feel like it really aligns with what I do with this podcast and my work for the past 4 years. Is that again we touched upon this before the episode, but the importance of community is sisterhood cannot be neglected, because if we want to grow as individuals, yes, it's important to focus on yourself and to focus on your goals, but it's also important to have an environment that makes you realize how special you are and what you can achieve. And some women, they're not lucky enough to have examples, or they're not lucky enough to be aware that women like this exist.
Correct.
And that's why I was, when I saw the episode that you were featured in, and I saw how life was in Muscat, which is still like, Oman is a Muslim country, in the Gulf, and it's like so many
Yes.
people here in France would have so much stigma, like would think things that do not. They would just be surprised that women are doing such great things. Muslim women are doing great things like this, because here, yes,
We have the best
yes,
life. We
but
have the best.
here they're just like, if you wear hijab, then like you submit yourself to your husband.
Here's the thing. I covered I covered by choice. No one forced me to cover. And I covered when I was 9 years old.
Subhanallah, subhanallah.
And my family, my cousins were not covered. I come from a very open family.
Yeah,
I come from a very diverse family. And I remember one day I came from school and I'm like, and I got my hair done for a birthday party. And I remember saying that I want to wear a hijab. And my mom was like, "But we just got your hair done. Why do you want to wear a hijab?" I'm like, I was influenced by the girls from school. I had a very close friend who used to wear it and I loved it on her.
yeah,
Simple as that.
yeah,
And I went home and I'm like, "Mom, I want to wear a hijab." And she's like, "Why? You're young. You're only 9." I'm like, "I don't know. I just want to wear it." And I remember she was not happy because she was worried that I was too young for
yeah,
it. And my mom told me this when I became an adult, obviously, but my dad told her, let her do whatever she wants to do. Let's encourage her. And if she decides not to wear it, let's not worry too much about her removing it in the future.
yeah,
Let's focus on what she wants to do today.
yeah.
So I wore it on a birthday party. It was my mom's black scarf as well. It wasn't even suitable for a child. Not colorful and not even colorful and, fun, you know? And I remember wearing it, and it was chiffon. I will never forget this. And that day is the day that I was decided to wear it, and I never took it off since.
Alhamdulillah. What a heartwarming story.
It's by choice.
Yes.
So like and I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chose me
Yeah. Of
to
course.
wear it at that
Of
point of
course.
time, at that age,
This is beautiful.
because a child would not show up saying I want to wear a hijab at 9 years old.
Yeah.
Rarely happens.
Yeah, yeah, but I do know other women who decided to wear it at a very young age, and it was just like you.
Yeah.
It was completely random, out of the blue. They
Yeah.
never took it off, and they were like, "That's Allah. That was His decision."
It's part of my identity. It today is part
Exactly.
of my identity.
Yeah,
Like I can't imagine myself not wearing it.
that's
You know,
beautiful.
it doesn't
I
work.
love it, and I
Yeah.
love that we get to show how, especially to the Western world. I'm not gonna lie. Here, a lot of people would think we don't get as many opportunities as non-hijabis here in France, and it's so unfair, because this isn't impacting what is going on in my brain. I'm still a smart young woman who could be achieving. Alhamdulillah, I can't complain because I work for myself, but I know other sisters, they're just like stuck because of what they think about hijabi women. And I'm like, just go and see that we are normal women. Like, this is, yes, this is part of our identities, but it's not everything.
Normal and high achievers and the best kind of life.
Yeah,
We have our family. We have our family support when we get married. They don't have that, with all due respect. I have the best maternity leave ever from work. I have we have rooms provided for
Yeah.
us to breastfeed. We're
Wow.
encouraged to breastfeed in our countries. We have working strict working hours. We have breastfeeding hour. We have we have a country that facilitates for women and and our lives as women. We don't have to take part-time jobs for us to be able to raise our children. Why? Because we can hire nannies, and we have our family to support, and we also have school, not schools, but they call them, like, daycares. We have plenty of daycares where we can drop our children to be able to go to work
Yeah.
and produce as women, and be in the top managers. We had the first minister in the Gulf in Oman, and she was the minister of education. So, like, we're I can
Yeah.
keep going, but we have the best life.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Like, yes, I'm not saying all of us live this life. We have women who struggle for, yeah, yeah. Everybody's diverse. We do have, yes, we still struggle with things which are not in the norm,
Yeah.
but that is already being breaking out because of social media. Thankfully, that plays a big
Yeah.
role, and encouragement in the community and different generations.
Yeah.
You know, I climbed the highest mountains. I got my diving certificate in 2016 or 17. I dive,
MashaAllah.
I swim, I snorkel. I do everything I want to do, and I never felt that whatever I'm wearing on my head was a barrier. Not a day, not a
This is
second.
beautiful. This
Never,
is beautiful. So
never.
that ties in perfectly with the last few questions that I have. So what would be your advice to sisters listening who are thinking about achieving those great goals, and like have those things in their head, but they feel like, maybe it's unconventional, I don't feel very comfortable like going against stigmas. What is your advice?
I mean, for me, it depends on what you want means to you. That's what you should be focusing on, not the people, because the moment you think about what others would think is when you lose it. It's gone. So for me, it's about how much you want this and why do you want this. The why plays a big role of you going towards it and doing it and keep doing it. For me, it's the whys. I climbed the mountain because I had a reason.
Yeah.
I started Hunna because I had a reason. Hunna led to a different project in the Far, which took me to the south. And it's also a community project that we did there towards tourism. And we connected to the people and are now having to benefit those people in the mountains through our project. So, having your whys is very important
Yeah.
and why you want to do it. And the moment you have it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up unexpected doors
Yeah.
for you. And your plans that whatever you had in mind, will be even, whatever is going to be happening to you, if your intentions are really pure, what will come towards your way will be completely even better than what you expected. The mountains came to me,
Yeah.
came on social media. Hunna came to me through the woman I met. Ghudu, the tourism project, came to me through Hunna and through the people we met in Dhafar. Why? Because I had something in me that I wanted to do, and God gave it to me as He saw me pursuing it. He helped me further, and He helped me arrive to where I am today. Am I done? No. I have much more to do towards what I have, and I feel that I have much more coming up and things that I want to do, and things I think I might want to do, but I'm not doing it today, but I might be doing it in the upcoming
Yeah.
years. So it's about the why,
Yeah.
and it's about keeping the faith, and it's about accepting to lose people along the way. I lost I wouldn't say lose, but it's a big word. But I had a 10 years old 10 I had a friend who was my friend for 10 years, and our relationship and friendship was gone after me climbing
Mm.
mountains. I was not understood of why I was doing, but I wanted to do what I keep on
Yeah.
doing. So I just had to move on. So yes, you will go through ups and downs. Your life might change with your surroundings, but it's worth it because you've gained what you always wanted to do for yourself,
Yeah.
and that's what matters the most.
This is beautiful. I love that you said that. I cannot agree more. As someone who launched many projects. You know what you just said? It made me think of 25-year-old me who decided to solo travel to Indonesia to launch my ethical home decor brand. I didn't know anyone. I went, and I remember when I told my friends, they were just like, "You're crazy, you know that? Like no one does that." And I was like, "You know what? I don't really care. I know why I'm doing this."
That's why it's special.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
special because no one does it.
Exactly. I was like, I know why I'm doing it. And I'm placing my trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He knows that my intentions are sincere and good, because I want to help people. I want to, I have this thing where I think I can have a positive impact. How could Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala not make that easy for me? And same with the mizan. I mean, this page changed my life in ways that I had never thought would happen, because I knew why I was doing it. And I was just trusting him. I was like, of course, the home decor brand was one thing, but we're talking about religion, and I am French, the moment I said I'm going to create this page to my non-Muslim friends who were used to me not being like, not making Islam my identity, they were like, why are you making this your career? You could be working in that company, that thing. I'm like, I do not really care about what you're saying, because I know why I'm doing this. I know the impact that I can have. I know what God is going to think of me. And I, just like you, I lost many friends, especially the day I decided to wear hijab, but I wouldn't have it any other way. If Allah distanced these people from me, is that they were not good for me in the first
Exactly.
place.
Exactly.
And I could just say Alhamdulillah for that.
And it's meant for that to happen. I mean, we can't have the same people in our lives all over every
Yes.
time, except family. Why?
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, it's how life works. It's how you're gonna develop as a person. It's how you're gonna change as a human being. It's creating that at the end of the day.
To wrap up this episode, I would love to know what's an ayah of the Quran or a hadith that you kept reminding yourself of, maybe when you were climbing, or that in your daily life as a social entrepreneur, as an athlete, as just a wonderful woman, that you like to cherish and keep you reminding yourself of.
Um, I remember I've came across this question, and the first thing that came to my mind is بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وعسى أن تحبوا شيئا وهو شر لكم وعسى أن تكرهوا شيئا وهو خير لكم. What this phrase means, and it comes up to my life many times. As you pursue your own life and your own dreams and your own passions, you come through a lot of hard times with the people around you, or with situations, whether it's at work or family or friends, and and you might lose some of these parts in your life, or it might get delayed, and you will hate that, but it will be probably the best for you. And
Yeah.
sometimes you pursue something that I really want so much. So for me, I remember going to Aconcagua. I went to Argentina 2 years ago. I continued to pursue my mountains, and I pursued a mountain last year, 2022, in Argentina. So I flew I went from one continent to the
Yeah.
other to climb a mountain.
Yeah. Argentina is far
Yes,
from Oman.
and I remember I did not summit that mountain. Although I was very strong. I trained hard, and I was prepared from all aspects. Like nothing was not prepared. But yet I got altitude sickness, and it was unexpected, and I was so hurt because you train, you pay,
Yeah.
you sign up, you do all of that. You're so far. You really came for the target, and you did not reach it. And I remember hating it, and I remember being hurt. I ended up going to Patagonia for 2 weeks, and I enjoyed Patagonia, and I loved it.
Wow, you're so lucky. It's one of my
I know,
dreams.
but I remember meeting. So my guide connected me with one of the women there, and she was my guide in Patagonia, and she took me to this amazing hike, and I was not enjoying it because I was so upset, and I started crying, and
Mm.
she's like, "What are you talking about? You've summited so many things in your life. What is Aconcagua to what you have summited in your life?" But to me, it felt, it feels everything, to you, and it doesn't happen. So that's where the phrase comes in. When وَعَسَى أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَهُوَ خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ. So it might not have happened at that point of time, and you might hate it. But I went to Patagonia, you know? I went to
Yeah.
Patagonia.
Yes.
I made amazing friends. I made an amazing friend, which is her and her boyfriend, and it was just nice. So you will come across this in your life, and things that you pursue and you do it all right from all aspects, but it might not turn out to be the way you wanted it to be. And I think
Yeah.
this phrase particularly gives me a lot of peace and eases things for
Yeah.
me and gives me faith and trust that I can always come back and I can do it all over again, and also helps me go back to this particular experience and really learn from it and see what can I learn out of it. You might not be able to learn from it from today, because the
Yeah.
beauty of the mountains is that the learnings comes over time, and
Yeah.
it comes over different situations. So it will always, the impact of the mountains will always be will be throughout your life, regardless of how long you've done it. It will always be there in different parts of your life.
This is incredible. You're right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Sometimes we think we know, but He knows us better than we know ourselves. And so whatever happens, happens for a reason. And I love that you got to experience that in such incredible settings, and that you accepted to share that with me and with everyone listening today. Jazakallah khair, Noor. It was such an inspiring chat. I feel very small, honestly.
Please don't say that.
But you inspired me in so many ways, not just like the physical achievement parts, but also just generally speaking, the lessons that you got mentally speaking, spiritually speaking. These are things to cherish deeply as Muslim women, who we know like this life isn't always easy for us. The society that we live in isn't easy for women in general, but even more so for Muslim women. That's something that I've repeated many times during the podcast, but I'm so thankful and honored to be able to show that we have gems in our community that are doing great things, that are here to, you know, achieve what is close to their heart, doing it with the right purpose, with the right intentions, and then sharing it with sisters to tell them that they're able to do it as well. So, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me and for choosing me to be part of your podcast. It's such an honor. And I've never had something like this abroad, from all the way from France. It's very special and very close to me. You're an incredible person, so having this conversation with you makes it much easier and nice and enjoyable.
Alhamdulillah.
And I'm very proud of what you do, and I really hope that you get whatever you're looking for and you achieve what you want to do out of this podcast. And I hope it reaches as much people as possible for you to really achieve your story and your goal. Thank you so
Inshallah.
much for having me.
Thank you so much, Noor. May Allah bless you with so much barakah with everything that you do.
Jamia, inshallah.
Your social businesses, your next climbing experiences. Allah, I'm so excited to see
Inshallah.
what
Pray
is
for me. I'm
next.
out of money now. I need to save up a lot of money to continue climbing.
I can imagine, but inshallah, it will all happen, and I cannot wait for
Inshallah.
you to share the experience. Thank you so much once again to everyone who tuned in today. I will leave Noor and everything that we mentioned in the podcast description as usual. And yeah, jazakum Allah khair, and I'll see you in the next one, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
ستعود جميلة تلك الأيام، نملأها حبا عطفا وأمان، وتعود الأرض لحالها لجمالها.